Hey everybody. So last week we took apart this Gucci wallet that had ripped and it ended up being all nylon. I'll link the video in the description. This week we made up a pattern and we're going to remake this wallet with some better materials in a way that will last a lot longer. But we're still going to use this Gucci panel. We did a little bit of a repair and we're going to make a wallet with the Gucci panel in it for the owner, and we're going to do that in this video. We also have, we're going to use this thread, so it'll be that color scheme. So let's get into it. We made up this pattern, and it's a pretty standard bifold pattern with some nice shape to it. The big difference is that the front is an inlay. If you remember, the old wallet had a rolled leather edge, and that's what ripped, and we wanted to stay away from that. So we're going to cut this interior part out, and this exterior is going to be leather, and then the Gucci will show through. Now this pattern's available on the website for a few bucks if you want, and we actually made a little pattern pack out of it. We did 6 different inlay styles, so you can do curved, you can do straight. We have some panels here, because there are some intricacies with inlays when you're making leather wallets, and I'll get into that as we're making this. So we're gonna go ahead and cut out the one that we're gonna do, and then we'll start working on it. We have our pattern cut out. We're actually not going to use it just quite yet. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to glue our inlay fabric onto the backing leather that we're going to use. And we're going to do this first because the inlay detail is very thin and very hard to work with. So once this is glued down flat, it's going to be much easier to position this pattern piece, get it glued down exactly where we want it. One thing to think about, and one of the reasons that we made a bunch of different designs in this pattern for the inlays is the durability of your inlay material. You're going to be using leather around for the whole wallet except for the inlay. You can also use leather for the inlay. That'd be really nice. If you're using fabric, you want to make sure to be using a fabric that is not super delicate. I know it's very tempting to use vintage textiles. The problem with that is, and I can speak from experience, about 10 years ago I started making these inlay wallets, and I would use old grain bags, and I would use textiles that I found indigo dyed stuff, and the fabric just doesn't last. The leather will last for years and years and years, and the fabric, because it's on the outside of the wallet, it's getting in contact with a lot of things, getting a lot of abrasions, it just rips. And so you want to make sure that you're using a really tough fabric like this, maybe a heavy canvas. Going back to these patterns, if we're using a wide open inlay, so this fabric is going to be exposed, but Gucci designed this fabric to be on the front of a wallet. In fact, it lasted longer than the leather that they used when we tore it apart. But if you're using a delicate fabric, you might want to go with an inlay shape, something like this, and this will just expose less of the fabric or the inlay that you're using, especially on the spine. That's what this panel is for. So the inlay fabric will go here and here. This will be leather so that when it folds and it's put in a pocket, the leather is taking most of the force there. So the pencil, I'm just going to give myself a little guideline, and this is just where to glue, so I don't really waste any leather or glue. And I'm going to glue the back of the fabric first, and then I'm also going to glue the liner itself. Once that's glued and under the blocks to dry, we're going to cut out the rest of our pattern here. And I've got 2 weights. This is like 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces. I'm going to make most everything with this. And then I have a little more of this. This is really thin. This is like 1 ounce. And I'm going to do the detail of the front inlay with this. And the reason I'm going to do that is because you have the fabric, the liner, and everything, and it's going to be a pretty thick piece. So we're going to use really thin stuff, so when you have all those layers together, it's not overbearing for the rest of the wallet. So now that we have this glued and everything cut out, this is probably the most difficult part. We need to get this lined up here And we're gonna round these corners, so that's cool that that's like that. So we need to get everything glued. I think you could probably use like a piece of chalk to mark this. We're gonna do it a little differently. I'm gonna flip this over, and we're gonna get some glue on this first. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab this, flip it over, and put it on here. We're not gonna stick this down permanently. We're just gonna go around and stick it. Then we're gonna pull it up. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna leave glue, a little bit of glue where we want it. And then we can go in and we can add our own glue around that border. And now we're gonna set this into place, which is super nerve-wracking, so take your time. If you have to pull it off and do it again, it happens to the best of us. We have this glued in and safe. We need to stitch this liner in. So I have my calipers set pretty short because we want to make sure that we're getting on top of this whole piece of fabric. And I'm going to go around and mark my stitch line. So now we're going to punch our holes, and usually we use our weaver irons. Today we're going to use a different set of irons, and the only reason is these irons have a little bit of a slimmer tooth profile, so they're going to help us get into all this little detail. You could do it with this. We're also using a thinner thread than we normally do to kind of mimic the machine sewn look of the original Gucci wallet. So we're going to use a thinner iron today to do this project. And the last step for our shell, this has been really stressful, but I think we got it done. We're gonna just sew up this interior. We're gonna use a gray that kind of matches the Gucci to bring it in to the design. So we're just gonna sew the whole thing up. And so this is going to be the front of our wallet shell. It's lined on the inside, gorgeous leather. We have our inlay. And I thought it'd be interesting if we compared it to what the Gucci original had. So this was the shell. This is the interior liner. They used a thin leather, and on the outside the fabric was right here. The biggest difference is that Gucci's using rolled edges on all of their pieces. And a rolled edge, we talked about it in the last video, is when you have the leather starts on one side and rolls over the exposed top edge to the other side. Now they do this because it's a nice finished look. It covers seams of fabric that they're using. But the problem is, if we look at an area that has a lot of wear, on any real rolled edge that gets exposed to a lot of abrasion, you're gonna see that the rolled edge itself is the first point of failure. And this is honestly true. I've seen this on full grain, high quality leather stuff too. It's just that you're putting so much tension on that leather when you fold it over that as it comes into contact with things, it's the first thing that rips. So in our piece, we got the same rolled edge look by doing an inlay, but we left the seam open and we burnished it. And that's going to be a huge help because unlike a rolled edge, and I'll bring out my wallet, and this is my personal wallet made out of the same leather, unlike a rolled edge where this is creating a point of tension and any little nick could spread the leather apart, A burnished edge is actually going to burnish further and get more and more shiny as you use it and become more durable. And the reason that is because the heat of any movement is going to draw oils out of the interior of the hide, and they're going to settle on this fiber. And then as you use it, as you get almost a polishing effect. And so this is actually the same leather as this after about a year and a half. So this wallet with this leather is really only going to get more beautiful, and these edges are going to get more sealed as it's used. And this is something Gucci could have done, couldn't, but they didn't. They used a cheaper leather instead. So that's what we're fixing in our version of this wallet. Next, we're going to do the pockets for the inside of the wallet. Gucci with theirs they do, like we were just talking about, then leather tops and then nylon. Super strong, nothing wrong with it, but not leather. And so we also had the issue of the leather splitting because they did the rolled edge. So in ours, we have full leather pockets. We're doing open burnished edge, and you could also paint these edges too. We're not painting them, we're burnishing them because this leather burnishes up super nice, and then as you use it, it just gets super shiny and beautiful. So we're gonna be burnishing them. First step to doing a multi-pocket panel is we're gonna skive down the bottoms of the two T-pockets. So the next thing we need to do is mark where the pockets are going to land so everything's even. In the pattern, which is second link in the description, we include this little pocket stack, and so you just cut that out. We're going to flip this over because we're on this side, and all I do is I just line it up with the bottom and the sides, and I'm just going to mark, and this is going to be the top of the first pocket. I see a lot of people, you can do this a lot of different ways, depending on what your workflow is. So the way that we're going to attach these pockets, I just glue down these sides, and then I glue the little tabs of the T-pockets. I glue them in this position, and then I stitch here without gluing. I've seen some people, they'll glue this and stitch it and then glue this after. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. This is the way I found that's the easiest. So we're going to run some glue down and get these stuck and sewn together. To sew the bottoms of the pockets, I'm going to use a little bit of a thinner thread. And the only reason for that is that we hammer down this stitching as we layer pockets on top. But the thinner thread, it further prevents feeling any of the thread coming out from underneath the pockets. And it also, your cards that slide over it, they won't get stuck on it. And so our last step is going to be to put our large bottom pocket on. And what I did on the back was I just kind of lined this up roughly. In the pattern, we have a little bit of a trim allowance, and I don't want to glue all the way up to this edge, so I just kind of traced it out where, and I know I can glue here. A couple of things before we do this. We put our logo in this. When you're doing something like this, if you're going to sell it, you always want to make sure that there is no possible way that this company, that Gucci, could come and see this custom wallet and think that you're trying to deceive people into thinking that this is an authentic wallet, because then it's counterfeit. So when you put your logo in the inside, that's a really good way to say outwardly, hey, I'm telling you that this is not an authentic Gucci wallet, it's a reproduction with authentic vintage material inside or upcycled material or whatever. It's always helpful to just throw a little logo in there. And so if we look at the way Gucci does their pockets, their insides are nylon and ours are full leather. Now, as I said in the other video, the nylon's plenty strong. We're doing the full leather. One of the cool things about doing a full leather pocket is anything you put in here, this nylon is pretty stagnant. It's not going to stretch, it's not going to do anything. So if you put too many cards in there, or if you just carry the same cards over and over again, this wallet isn't really going to mold to the things that you carry in it and the way that you sit on it. Whereas doing a full leather construction like this wallet is going to move with you. It's going to mold in. It's going to, when you sit on it for months or years at a time, it's going to start to fit really comfortably in your pocket, mold to your body. So that's one of the benefits of doing full leather construction. With that, we're going to get some glue on the bottom of the pocket assembly. We're going to glue up the bottom pocket, and we're going to get these stuck together. So now we're just going to take off this little edge after we've sanded. It kind of folds over. So we're just going to use a size 0 edger from Weaver. These are super great, really affordable, stay nice and sharp. And on this one, I'm going to take the edge off of both sides because we're going to have, this is a hidden pocket, so you're going to have things coming in and out of here as well. So we're just going to knock off this edge to make the function a little bit smoother. And the last step before we start assembling the whole wallet is we need to burnish this edge. Because we're not doing the rolled edge, all we're going to use, this is gum trag. It doesn't come in this, but we just put it in here because we get it in gallon jugs. You put a little bit of gum trag on the edge here. Let it get a little bit sticky. Just wait a few seconds. And then all this is a canvas cloth, and we're just going to burnish. And now, for the life of this wallet, whereas if you had a rolled edge, if that thing breaks, you have to repair the wallet. For the life of this wallet, if these edges get a little banged up, we can always just lightly sand them down and reburnish with a little bit of gum trag, a little bit of water, beeswax, and you're good to go. So you always have to take into account maintenance when you're building a leather piece that's going to last for years and years. It's not necessarily a bad thing that your stitching might break after 20 years. It's a material. It's the limit of the material. You just want to make sure that you construct your pieces in a way so that they can be maintained and upkept, and they don't have to be replaced. So I went ahead and got the other side done. Same, just mirrored. And so we're ready to get our interior constructed and then get our whole wallet assembled. Going back to the other wallet, we'll compare. So for our interior shell piece, you can see the main difference is that we're just simply using a piece of leather. Whereas what Gucci had to do is they have a really thin liner, and then they have nylon, and then they have sort of a beauty ring piece so that if you imagine these are the red, when you're looking at it from straight on, it looks like it's all leather. We're just going to use all leather. This is just a lot of labor, which, we'd rather use a higher quality material. So we're going to get this started by gluing in. We're going to mark and glue our pockets to the interior, and then we're going to sew across the top, and then we're going to fully assemble the interior shell to the exterior shell. So now that I have this all sewn together, our interior is one piece and our exterior is one piece. I'm going to just quickly burnish the top of this, and then as you can see, I've pre-punched the holes on the interior. I'm going to go through and pre-punch the holes on the exterior, and then when I glue them together, they'll match up. And that's a good way to make sure that all of your stitch lines line up with the grooves that you make, because if you were to glue this together and then punch all the way through, you could get kind of wonky on this side because this is kind of a thick piece to punch through. Now that we have everything pre-punched, we're in the home stretch pretty much. So I've marked off here where I'm going to glue to, and this is, we'll put the glue all the way up to where this pocket ends because we want this to be open so the wall can open and closed. And we're just going to glue everything up, stitch everything, and we'll come back to you when we have the piece finished up, and we'll go over some of the other changes that we made, compare it to the original, and then we'll be good to go. And here we go, we're all done. Interior came out really nice. I like this. I don't know if you can see it in the light, but the pockets there, I like the pocket shape on that. 3 pockets on each side and then a hidden one underneath each. So 2 hidden pockets, something in the middle, and here's the outside. And I think I'm really happy with this, how this came out. I think it's really high quality. The thing about doing the full leather is that not only is this leather going to last a long time, you're not going to see any breaking, you're not going to see the leather breaking like on the rolled edge like the original had, but it's also just going to wear in super nice because there's no nylon and because we used a natural material like leather. Anything you put in this, it's really going to wear in nice. It's going to start to fit your body. It's going to mold around the things that you carry in it. And then on the outside, I think it's really also, it's good to point out that, you know, if you watch our channel, you know, we don't usually do things this detailed. But that doesn't mean that we can't, right? So if you're getting into leatherwork or you're learning, it's important to learn technical skill beyond that of which the products you want to make require. Because if you are constantly making at the top of your skill range, you're gonna be limited on your design and construction options. But if you learn enough to be able to make conscious decisions about the concept and the functionality of the pieces that you're making, then your options are wide open and you can really start to design with more purpose. And so you always want to learn as much as you possibly can beyond even the things that you plan to make in this craft or any craft. And so I think that's going to be it for this project. We took the old Gucci wallet apart, we assessing those failure spots and making a wallet that wasn't going to fail in the same way. And so with that, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.